This is Garis, Masculist, MGTOW flyers. That is 2 3-page essays on the themes of Masculism and MGTOW, written by and read aloud by Prof. Dr. Hugo de Garis. This is flyer number 242, entitled Masculisting the Campuses. Description. This flyer gives suggestions on how campuses can be influenced by MGTOW/Masculist ideas by setting up Masculist groups and what their goals and activities could be. Flyer itself. Masculisting the Campuses by Prof. Dr. Hugo de Garis. Email profhugodegaris@yahoo.com. Website profhugodegaris.wordpress.com. This flyer is not the first of mine with the title of Masculisting the ... I may do a whole series of flyers on the same theme and corresponding title. This flyer is about how Masculists can go about spreading their ideas and influence onto college and university campuses, waking young men up to the hazards of traditional marriage, raising their masculist consciousnesses, and persuading women to change in ways that will make women less oppressive to men. I'll start with the initial step needed to create a masculist consciousness on a campus. Common sense says that to do that, you'll need to create a men's lib or masculist or masculist/MGTOW group from which to work as a base. So the first part of this flyer will be about how to get a masculist or men's lib group off the ground, to make it an institution on campus that has a name and that people can identify with. Such a group will usually start with one person who has been influenced by MGTOW and Masculist ideas on the internet, on YouTube, and feels the need to go further to the next step, that is, into political action to free men from those aspects of life that oppress them. If you're a MGTOW, you might feel that political action is a waste of time, and that your only option is to opt out of the current gynocentric system we live in. If you're a Masculist, you'll see this MGTOW attitude as defeatist, wimpy, and intellectually unimaginative. There are ways to get round the MGTOW arguments that political activism is a waste of time. I will discuss these ways shortly. So let's say you're a Masculist on campus, and you want to set up a men's lib group, a Masculist group. To form a group, you need a group of men to form it. So your first job will be to find other like-minded men who want to help you create such a group. So how to find them? You need to form a seeder group, that is, a small bunch of guys who form the core of the group, so that other guys can later attach themselves to it to form a larger group. To form the core, you can chat with your friends and select a few who are motivated enough to help you form the core. Once you have a handful of guys, you can then give your group a label and start advertising for recruits to your group. As for a name, imagine you are a student at a state university in the US called X State University, where X is some state name. Then perhaps you could call the group X State Masculist Organization or X State Masculists. Depending on how politically oriented you are, maybe you might want to write up a constitution for your group, laying out its goals. Perhaps you want it to be more informal on that and just have regular meetings. Whatever level of structure you choose, you will obviously need some set of common goals for your group. Otherwise, what is the purpose of forming the group in the first place? Here are some suggested goals and activities for your Masculist/MGTOW group, presented in bulleted form. Bullet. Get the message out on campus to men that they should not marry and have kids because of the feminazi takeover of the divorce courts, making marriage and paternity life-threatening to men. Bullet. Encourage group members to watch YouTube videos on MGTOW and Masculist themes. For For example, watch the principal MGTOW/Masculist content providers such as Sandman, TFM, that's Turd Flinging Monkey, MGTOW is Freedom, that's John, Angry MGTOW, MGTOW Philosopher, MGTOW 101, MGTOW, done it again. Bullet. Put pressure on female students to become FIPS so that they do not become fluffy parasites on men because they studied fluffy crap majors that are career incompetent, that the economy does not value, so that they will end up fluffies as adults and then expect to parasite off a man in their 30s when they get baby rabies. Bullet. Write regular articles for your student newspaper or student website so that thousands of students on campus can be influenced by the ideas these articles contain. Advertise, proselytize, cajole, hassle, get the word out. Teach men not to marry, not to have kids, and try to get the sympathy of women as well. Bullet. Aim at both sexes. Preach MGTOW tactics, that is, avoid marriage and paternity, to men, and preach masculist tactics to women, that is, that women must be FIPS or not get a man, and must help men to force the gender politicians to men fair the gender laws, or women will remain babyless. Bullet. Push for the university to start a men's studies course and to hire a professor or two to teach it who write textbooks on the topic of Masculism/MGTOW. Bullet. When there's an outreach day for the university where the many clubs of the university have booths, then have a Masculist group booth with flyers to be handed out to the public. Bullet. Publish articles in the local newspaper and media. Try to get on local TV and radio to teach the general public about MGTOW/Masculist ideas. Bullet. Have big campus-wide talks by inviting a prominent Masculist speaker/author who will attract a big crowd to teach thousands of students in one talk. Bullet. Hold regular meetings of the group, say every 2 weeks, that could take the form of one member of the group giving a talk or mini lecture, a PowerPoint presentation, etc., and then discussion. Bullet. If there's opposition from the feminazis, then harangue them with masculist rhetoric. Beat them at their own game, since men are smarter and more verbally aggressive than women. Teach these feminazis that they no longer have a monopoly on gender discourse. Teach them that they will have to get used to the existence of the ideology of gender lib from the other half of humanity. Bullet. Go to women's groups and teach them the basics of men's lib/MGTOW/masculism and tell them that if the gender status quo continues, women will not have babies due to 2/3 of young men refusing to marry and have kids, so that it is in women's self-interest, if they don't want to remain babyless, to combine with the masculists to push the gender politicians to men fair the gender laws. Bullet. Tell women via talks and just casual conversation that women will have to give up their privileges in the feminazi-dominated divorce courts of getting sole custody of the kids with a 90% probability, getting the house, getting half of her ex-husband's possessions, getting child support from him, and often alimony. Persuade women that they will have to give all that up, because if not, they will pay an even heavier price, and that is that they will be babyless. Tell women that they need to become female masculists so that they can force the gender politicians to men fair the gender laws, because until they are men faired, men will continue to boycott marriage and paternity, causing women to remain babyless. Really push this point home. Bullet. When feminazis dump on men in public, then dump on them right back. Give them a taster of their own medicine. Tell them they have 10% smaller brains. Tell them they are parasites of men and have evolved that way. Tell them about the sex bots and artworms that are coming, which will cause men to ignore women in large numbers. Tell them about the pathetic 1% of the science Nobel Prizes won by women. Tell them that women are dumber than men by 4 IQ points. Tell them men have a 10% higher IQ variance than women, so that the genii are men. Tell them that men are the superior sex, as shown by science. Tell them that feminazi bitches are the first category of females to be rejected by men. Tell them that no man wants a relationship with a misandrist, man-dumping, feminazi bitch, etc. Bullet. Teach the feminazis on your campus the strong lesson that masculists don't tolerate their misandrist shit by giving them tit for tat. Bullet. Restore the balance between the sexes on campus in the sense of diluting the gynocentric bias. Make your masculist present known on campus and assert your masculinity. Harangue and browbeat the feminazi bitches with masculist ideas. Arm yourselves intellectually with masculist ideas so that you can rattle them off easily and persuasively. Bullet. With women, use both the carrot and the stick. Present them with the masculist case, so that a lot of reasonable women will become female masculists for similar reasons that many men became male feminists. That is, they see the force of the arguments and sympathise. That is the carrot. But use the stick also by scaring them that if they don't join with men to men-fair the gender laws, they are not going to have a baby. They will only be pumped and dumped, and if they're fluffy crappers, they won't even get that. Scare them. Bullet. Change the feel on campus so that men are seen as the superior sex and are to be respected and admired. Use your masculist arguments to educate the student body. If women's studies professors give talks to the university, challenge their feminazi dogmas by lashing out at them with masculist ideas that are scientifically based and can't be refuted unless with superior science, not feminazi bullshit. Bullet. Network with other university masculist groups. Once your group at your university is well established, reach out to neighbouring masculist groups at other universities. Form larger masculist organisations at city level, at state level, at national level, at global level. Bullet. Help set up masculist groups at high schools. This is one of the most important activities of your group, since most of the fluffy crapper damage done to women by women happens in the high schools. Teach the high school masculist group leaders that they need to morally push their female classmates to fip up or be punished by not getting a man. Tell them about masculism, MGTOW. Give talks at their schools. Bullet. Help the high school masculist groups network across the state and to connect with their neighbouring university masculist groups, which can feed them material, encouragement, etc. Bullet. Talk with the high school teachers so that they can play a role in setting up masculist groups in their high schools. Bullet. Undertake political actions, for example, hand out flyers to fluffy crapper students studying languages, history, English literature, etc. in high school, telling them if they study fluffy crap, they will become fluffies and hence will be punished later by not getting a man, because men will reject them for being fluffy parasites, expecting to be able to parasite off a man's money. Bullet, etc. A masculist group, as with any group, is only as good as its prime movers, the leaders, with the energy, drive, enthusiasm and conviction to move the group along. MGTOW channels on YouTube are now popping up like mushrooms, so it's clear the time is ripe to move to the next stage, that is to become political and change the gender laws, men-fair the divorce laws, bring in the paternity rejection right, men-fair the gender laws across the board. Push women to fip up, punish fluffies by ignoring them, harangue the hated feminazi bitches with masculist rhetoric to get them to shut up. Change the gynocentric atmosphere on campus so that men can assert their genetic superiority and be relaxed about it. There's so much to do, guys. There are thousands of such Masculist/MGTOW groups to be set up across the US and other Western countries. So get to it. Roll up your sleeves and get to work. Teach men about the hazards of the divorce courts. Teach them not to marry nor have kids. Teach women to FIP up and vote with men to mend the gender laws so that women can have babies again. Change the zeitgeist so that both sexes admire male genetic superiority and respect men instead of the current male put-down in a gynocentric culture. Assert yourselves and create a culture that honours men. Cheers. Prof. Dr. Hugo de Garis. Email profhugodegaris@yahoo.com. Website profhugodegaris.wordpress.com. YouTube channels De Garis, Masculist, MGTOW, Flyers, and De Garis Essays. Ciao.